He doesn't look at you the same anymore. You feel it before you can explain it. You sense the silence between the two of you starting to echo. He still shows up, maybe still says the right things, but something in his presence feels distant, like he's physically close, but spiritually gone. It's not that he stopped loving you, it's that he forgot how to feel you. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It whispers, it wakes you up at night, it makes you question your worth, and it feeds you thoughts like, maybe I'm too much, or worse, maybe I was never enough. But what if I told you, he wants to desire you? He wants to crave you again, deeply, emotionally, and even spiritually. And not just in memory, but in real time, with real heat, real reverence. Not because you try harder, not because you say the perfect words, not because you give him more, but because you remember something ancient that lives inside you, something that makes a man remember himself when he looks at you. Because the truth is, when a woman reclaims her ritual, she doesn't chase desire. She becomes the source of it. In this video, I'm going to show you something that's not in most love advice. It's not about seduction techniques. It's not about playing hard to get. And it's definitely not about giving him ultimatums. No, this is deeper. This is about remembering who you are, in the most quiet, magnetic, and feminine way possible. You'll learn the ritual that pulls a man back into his soul when he's drifting. The one that makes him feel a hunger for you that even he can't explain. A ritual not made of words but energy, presence, and unspoken power. And it's not just about getting him back. It's about bringing you back. Because deep down, what you're really missing is not his attention. It's the way you used to feel when you felt desired, seen, chosen, wanted, worshipped. This is not just about love, it's about alchemy. And if you're tired of being the one who gives, holds space, holds in your tears, and holds the weight of two people's emotions, I want you to stay. Just breathe. Because you're about to remember what he forgot, and what you forgot too. That the deepest desire a man holds is to surrender to a woman who is no longer waiting for him to remember her worth. Let's begin. And before we dive deep, because we are going deep, I want to say this. If you feel like you've been carrying this silent heartbreak alone, you're not. There are thousands of others who feel like you do. So if this speaks to your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, not just for me, but so you stay close to the kind of messages that remind you of your power. He doesn't pull away because he stopped needing you. He pulls away when he forgets how to feel you, when the energetic current between you two goes flat, not because you did something wrong, but because the rhythm of the relationship has collapsed into survival mode, into routine, into quiet resentment, into two people forgetting to see each other. And that's where the feminine ritual begins. Because when a woman begins to return to herself not as a performance, but as a practice, something ancient shifts. He starts feeling her again. Not her words, not her effort, but her being. You don't have to remind him of who you were when you met. You have to return to who you are without needing his memory to validate it. This ritual isn't a routine. It's a frequency. It begins when you stop trying to fix his disconnection and you sit with your own. When you stop asking, why doesn't he want me like before? And start asking, why did I stop wanting myself like I used to? It's subtle, but it's powerful. You wear your hair differently, not for him, but because you suddenly remembered how much you love the way your neckline feels when it's exposed. You light a candle at night not to seduce him, but to sit with your own longing, to make it holy instead of shameful. You walk slower in the room, not because you want him to watch, but because you're no longer rushing through your own body like a hallway you're trying to exit. This is where it begins. The feminine ritual is not about proving you're worthy of desire. It's about anchoring into the truth that you are desire itself, not the object of it, the source. And men, no matter how lost, emotionally frozen, or seemingly shut down, feel this. Even if they don't know how to say it, even if they push it away, even if they look at you like they don't recognize you anymore, their body does. Because the feminine, when embodied, not performed, not controlled, not used as bait but lived, has a gravitational pull that no logic can resist. And yet, here's the part that no one tells you. The ritual doesn't begin when he pulls away. It begins long before that, when you first abandon yourself in the name of closeness, when you first shrink your voice, soften your truth, hide your wild, and contort into something safe, just so he won't leave. It starts when you betray the part of you that knew you were always meant to be seen in full. He stops desiring you when you stop desiring you. And that's the wound most women carry in silence. We overfunction. We smile through the ache. We give more, offer more, show up more, until we quietly disappear. And then we wonder why he doesn't feel us anymore, because there's nothing left to feel. And this is where the heartbreak becomes a portal. You don't need to punish him. You don't need to beg. You need to stop leaking energy into the places he isn't even listening. You need to reclaim your attention like a queen retrieving her crown from the ground. Do you understand what that does to a man? When he sees a woman in her own orbit again, not cold, not punishing, not pretending not to care, but full, quietly radiant, deeply reconnected to a source he cannot touch, but desperately wants to feel again. He doesn't need more proof of your love. He needs to miss the version of you that knew how to hold herself. So don't just wait for him to turn around. Turn into yourself. Light the candle. Play the song. Wear the thing that makes you fall in love with your own reflection again. This isn't about making him chase you. This is about making you come home. And the moment you do, he'll feel it like a thunderclap beneath his skin. He'll wonder why the air tastes different. He'll try to recall the exact moment he started feeling like a stranger in your presence. Because you're no longer on standby. You're back. There's a quiet rebellion in choosing yourself again. Not in anger, not in performance, but in reverence. The kind of reverence that says, I'm not a role you fill. I'm not a fantasy you chase. I'm not a ghost of the girl you once adored. I'm here, whole, human, and no longer abandoning myself for crumbs of attention. And that shift, that sacred, unapologetic return to center, is the ritual that rewires his desire, not overnight, not like a trick, but like a storm that builds without warning. Because when you stop reaching for him, he's forced to feel the space where your energy used to be, and he notices. He may not say it, but he feels the absence of what you gave freely, your softness, your availability, your need to make him feel safe, even when you weren't. And that's when something happens inside him, not out of guilt, not out of fear, but because the masculine longs to serve something real, something sacred, something that moves him, not manages him. Men don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with presence, with the way your voice lowers when you speak from truth, with the fire in your eyes when you're no longer asking for permission to exist, with the raw, quiet power of a woman who doesn't need to explain her worth anymore. That's what wakes him up. That's what makes him remember. And maybe he'll resist it at first. Maybe he'll try to pull you back into the version of you he could control. The one who didn't challenge his comfort. The one who said yes when she wanted to scream no. But if you stay rooted, if you hold your softness without selling it, he'll feel something ancient move in his chest. A hunger that isn't about conquest. A longing that isn't about possession. A desire to rise to meet you. Not just have you, but this only happens when you stop orbiting his potential and return to your own gravity. That's the paradox. He starts chasing you when you stop chasing who he used to be. Because a woman in her ritual doesn't fight for attention. She magnetizes it, not because she plays games, but because she's finally too full to feed someone else's emptiness. Do you feel that? That shift. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with a quiet knowing in your bones that says, I don't need to be chosen to be valuable. I am the choosing. And maybe he returns. Maybe he doesn't, but you will. And that's the real miracle. Because when a woman reclaims her ritual, she doesn't just get love back. She gets herself back. The woman who no longer whispers when she needs to roar. The woman who can hold space for her longing without leaking it all over someone who's not ready. The woman who doesn't dress her wounds as invitations, hoping he'll notice. She becomes untouchable in the most holy way. And he knows it, even if he can't name it. Even if he can't meet you there yet. He feels it, because you're no longer trying to be enough for him. You're finally becoming enough for you. And that is irresistible. There's something sacred that happens when a woman stops asking, what do I need to do to keep him? And starts asking, what do I need to remember to keep myself? You've been trained your whole life to think you need to earn love, to be agreeable, to not ask too much, to not take up space. You were told being desired meant being less, softer, quieter, more forgiving, more patient. But what if being truly desired was never about being palatable? What if the most magnetic version of you is the one who doesn't shrink when he's unsure? What if it's the version of you who looks in the mirror and doesn't ask, am I still lovable? But says, I am already love, and I am not waiting to be seen to believe it. This is where the feminine ritual deepens. It's no longer about surface, about what you wear, what you say. It becomes a sacred way of moving through the world, of waking up and choosing yourself, before the world has a chance to forget you again. And that choice, it changes the air around you. It tells the universe and him that you are no longer sitting at the doorstep of someone else's capacity. You are not waiting for a man to come home to himself before you feel at home in your own skin. And he feels it, not just in his mind, in his body. When you speak with clarity instead of apology, when you smile because you're lit from the inside, not trying to light him up, when your silence is no longer a punishment but a prayer, he feels it. Not every man is ready for this. Not every man will rise to meet the woman who no longer bends, but the right one, the one whose soul remembers you will. He may not know how to explain it, but he'll feel a pull back into his own depth, because when you stop performing intimacy and start embodying it, You stop being someone he visits for comfort and start becoming someone who awakens his devotion. That's what the feminine does. She doesn't beg for love. She becomes the ground it's built on. And the ritual doesn't need an audience. Sometimes it's just you, sitting alone in your room, putting your hand on your chest and whispering to yourself, "I'm not losing me again. Not for anyone." That's the moment the ritual becomes real. Because the most powerful feminine shift isn't about what he sees in you. It's about what you see in yourself again. The softness that doesn't break when it's not received. The strength that doesn't harden just because he can't hold it. The woman who can grieve the version of her that gave too much and still choose to rise this time for herself. And from that place, everything changes. Not because he finally says the right words. Not because he finally wakes up, but because you did. And when you do, his soul will feel it like a song he forgot he knew. Not because you reminded him, but because you stopped reminding yourself to forget it. You remembered. There's a moment every woman reaches quiet, often invisible to the outside world, when she no longer needs to be understood by him. She just needs to be reunited with herself. This is not the dramatic ending. This is not the breakup text. It's not the final argument or the door slamming behind you. It's something far more potent. It's when you sit across from him and realize you're not waiting to be chosen anymore. You're choosing yourself in real time, without needing to announce it, without needing his blessing, without needing it to make sense to anyone but you. That's when the ritual becomes irreversible. You still love, you still feel, you still care, but you don't leak anymore. You don't pour from the empty cup of self-abandonment and call it loyalty. You become rooted in a new kind of power, one that doesn't rise from force or revenge, but from clarity, from sacred boundaries, from the kind of grace that holds both your softness and your standards without apology. And suddenly, he feels the shift not in what you say, but in what you no longer explain. You stop over-explaining your pain. You stop justifying why you need more. You stop shrinking your truth just to keep peace that costs your soul. You become undeniable. And this terrifies some men, not because they don't care, but because they can no longer control the narrative. Because you're no longer begging to be chosen. You're inviting him into a new rhythm. One where both people must show up fully, not just you. One where your love is not currency to buy connection, but a sacred offering that must be met with equal reverence. And if he can't meet you there, you don't punish him. You don't beg. You simply remain whole, steady, luminous. And if he's meant to rise, he will. Because no man forgets the moment he looked into the eyes of a woman who no longer needed him to remember her worth. That's when real desire is born. Not lust, not obsession, not dependency, but devotion. The desire to meet her in her fullness, not pull her back into his fear. Because he sees something in her now, something he forgot he was craving. A woman who is already full and doesn't need him to complete her, but is powerful enough to call him into more. And the truth is, that ritual, it was never about him. It was always about you. Because every time you return to your body, to your truth, to your breath, every time you light the candle for no one but yourself, every time you stop explaining your heart and just live it, you are not just healing your love life. You are healing every woman who came before you who never got the chance to choose herself. And you are becoming the blueprint for every woman who comes after. So no, this is not just about getting him to desire you again. It's about remembering that you were never meant to be forgotten in the first place. You don't have to remind a man what you are worth when you remember it for yourself. And the more you embody it not in loud declarations, but in quiet choices, the more his soul will either rise to meet yours or fall silent in the presence of your light. Because that's the truth about love that no one tells you. Not every man is supposed to stay. Not every connection is meant to be carried past its expiration. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is letting go of the version of him you were trying to fix, so you can finally feel you again. And still there are some men who will rise. Men who are not afraid of your power. Men who are not threatened by your radiance. Men who are not looking for a woman to mother them, heal them, tolerate them, but to mirror them, to invite them into wholeness. But even they cannot meet you if you are still abandoning yourself. That's the hardest part of this ritual. It's not about doing more. It's about unlearning what taught you to wait, to dim, to doubt, to beg. It's about letting go of the fantasy that one day he will look at you and finally realize, because that day may never come. But the day you look at yourself and finally see the woman who stopped chasing what could never hold her, that day changes everything. And from that place, you begin to move differently. You speak when it's true, not when it's safe. You rest when you're tired, not when you're allowed. You stop looking for signs and start creating them. You remember that you were never meant to fit into a man's life like a piece of a puzzle. You were meant to be the flame he chooses to stand beside, or not at all. And here's the quiet secret no one wants to admit. The moment you stop performing to be wanted, the moment you stop proving your softness, the moment you stop auditioning for love, is the moment he sees you clearly, sometimes for the first time, not because you twisted yourself into the most lovable version, but because you became real again. You laugh louder, you cry deeper, you move like someone who knows how much she costs, and he either meets you in that space, or he watches you walk away, not with bitterness, but with the grace of a woman who knows she was never left. She was being returned to herself. That is the ultimate feminine ritual. Not reclaiming him, reclaiming you, not making him remember, but never forgetting again. Because when a woman finally remembers her sacredness, her depth, her stillness, her storm, she becomes unforgettable. So now, here you are, not at the end of something, but at the beginning of everything that was waiting for you. Not broken, not too much, not too late, but ready. Ready to love from fullness, not fear. Ready to receive without earning, ready to be seen without shrinking. This is your return, not to the fantasy, not to the chase, but to the woman you were before you believed you had to become someone else to be loved. She's still here. She always was, and now she's watching you take every step back toward her. With each breath, each boundary, each choice that whispers, "I won't abandon me ever again." You don't need to perform to be loved. You don't need to lose yourself to feel close. You don't need to carry the weight of two people just to prove your worth. You are not here to make someone remember. You are here to remember yourself. And the man who's meant to walk beside that version of you, he'll feel it, he'll know. He won't just want you, he'll revere you. He'll listen with his body, not just his ears. He'll lean into your fire, not flinch from it. He'll meet you in your depth, not drown in it. Because this time, you're not handing your power to anyone who hasn't earned the right to hold it. And that kind of woman, she changes everything. Not just for him, but for the world around her. So to the woman listening right now, maybe with tears, maybe with silence in your chest, maybe with something breaking open inside you for the first time in years, know this: you are not alone. You are not too sensitive, too much, too intense. You are the beginning of a new rhythm. You are the portal back to soul. And the moment you commit to your own ritual of return, of softness, of strength, of sacred presence, you rewrite the way love meets you forever. So don't rush back into proving. Don't fill the silence. Don't chase the man. Don't beg for the memory of who he was. Hold yourself. You are not hard to love. You just forgot what it felt like to be fully loved while fully being you. Now you remember. And now, he will too. If this spoke to something deep in you, I invite you to stay close. Subscribe, like this video, and share it with anyone you love who needs to remember their power too. Not because you owe me anything, but because you owe yourself this kind of love. You're not asking to be seen anymore. You are the vision.